So we've got Amazon Prime Day in October and Black Friday. This is the most iconic time for people to either build a new PC, upgrade their PC, or upgrade their gaming setup. But so many of you out there lose your freaking minds during this time period, and you do some crazy things that I want you to absolutely avoid. This is Boost My Build, the series where we take your PC build list, we tear them up, put them back together, and we massively increase your performance. If you get value out of this video, please give a like. It makes a huge difference to the channel. And of course, subscribe for more cool PC content. All right, we got Lian. Sarah, it's a new build. They say their budget is $1,000 to $1,200 US, and they're in the USA, and it's only for the PC. They say, I'm building for a friend that's new to PC gaming, previously only on console. They want a mid-range system with longevity since they won't upgrade for a while. They're only playing games at 1080p 100 Hz. Their monitors max. What? See, this is already a massive mistake, but let's keep going. This video is sponsored by Meter, the company building better networks. Now, before YouTube, I ran operations at nonprofits, and like most businesses, our biggest headache was networking, from inflexible pricing to complex and fragmented tools. I wish we'd had Meter. Meter builds out full stack networking solutions that actually work for business. They design the hardware, they write the firmware, and they build the software. They handle deployment and ongoing management, so it all works together. Meter gives you full control with deep visibility, policy level control, and ongoing support. It's a single integrated solution that scales from branch offices, retail stores, warehouses, and large campuses to data centers. If you're ready to offload your networking headaches to a trusted partner, go to meter.com/PCBuilder to book a demo now, or click the link in the video description. Want to leave him room for workstation tasks, AutoCAD, DaVinci, video editing? They're only considering NVIDIA GPU and micro ATX. It's like we're just layering on the requirements on a relatively kind of low to mid-range budget here. They want sleek, less RGB. We can do all that. My big concern here is that 1080p 100 Hz. Why are we sticking with that old gaming monitor? But let's see what you got. I mean, look, this is a fine build, fine. You can hear my voice right there. I don't love this build, but if you put this build together, this would give you good frame rates, especially at 1080p. It would give you pretty insane frame rates at 1080p. And you finished at $1,149.97. So you actually have $50 left in the budget. But I can just see that we have not used our budget very effectively, and we've just made some mistakes here. Like, for instance, why aren't we upgrading the monitor? You can get a really good 1440p gaming monitor, or budget to kind of mid-range-ish LCD one for about $200 US, oftentimes lower than that. And especially during Prime Day, there's a lot of big sales going on. And then I'm looking at some other parts here, and I just feel like we've massively overspent in areas that aren't giving us additional performance. And if I'm thinking about the entire experience of this gaming PC, I feel like we're falling a little short here. But let's jump into what else the GPU. You went with the RTX 5060 Ti. Jason, I don't want to deal with AMD GPUs. Fine, that's fine. 5060 Ti is a fine GPU. It's good at 1440p. I don't know why we're going with the RTX 5060, the GeForce WindForce one here, OC, for $450, when actually even right now at the time of filming, at least, there's a $379 one. I'll see if it's still available. It might be worth considering if we can, again, upgrade other areas. We went with the Ryzen 9600X. Right now it's selling at, it says $182. That's a third-party seller. It's selling for about $200. The 7600X, similar performance, selling for about $20 to $30 less. Again, I would pick up the 9600X if we didn't have anywhere else to spend the money, but we might. I like the Thermaltake Assassin X 120 refined. It's a non-RGB cooler. Great cooler, by the way. $18, really hard to argue with. The Acer B650M Pro RS, this is a motherboard I used to recommend the heck out of because it was super price efficient for a budget motherboard. But in 2025, things have changed. We can now get for about the same price, ASRock or some other vendors as well, B850 motherboards with a PCIe Gen 5 GPU slot. I don't want to go through the whole, do you need the Gen 5 GPU slot? I still don't think you'll ever really get any use out of it. However, there's no benefit to not getting it at this point, so there's only downside. In that case, I would go with the B850. I like your RAM, Team Group, 32 gigabyte DDR5 6000 CL30, all we need for this build. And I love that you went with the kind of one of the cheaper kits for $89. So you went with the Silicon Power UD90 drive I recommend all the time. You went 2 terabytes here. Now here's an area that you could, especially with a motherboard like you have that has 3 M.2 slots on it, we could go with a 1 terabyte drive, save like $50 basically, or $40. Again, just keep chipping away and find enough money to buy a decent gaming monitor, and we can always come back in the future and add additional storage for roughly the same price. I like the Okeanos Cypress 3 Micro ATX PC case. Okeanos is a brand that we've pushed recently. They're a relatively new and smaller brand that's doing a lot of good things in the budget and even in the mid-range space now, which I really, really like. This is a non-RGB case. There's also an RGB version of this one if you want, but again, you don't want RGB. I totally get it. I like this case quite a bit, and I like the wood accent for only $61. This PSU is a big mistake. There's nothing wrong with it. It's A-tier rated, Corsair RMX 750. But my issue with this PSU is for $115, there are so many other better values out there that are also either A-tier rated. But honestly, do we need an A-tier rated PSU on this build? We could get a C-tier rated PSU for this budget range, typically appropriate, especially for the power usage that we're looking at. That's what I would usually recommend. We could save like $50 or $60. All told, $1,149.97. I just feel like we're leaving a lot of performance on the table, not FPS necessarily, but in terms of our overall experience. I'd love to see us right size this build, trim some things out, and get an actual 1440p gaming monitor that your friend is going to have a lot of fun with. I call this the $1,200 proper 1440p gaming PC and monitor. We are going to get you and your friend an actual 1440p gaming monitor, and it's going to have the same performance as the PC that you were looking at doing. You're like, Jason, how are you doing this? And I'm doing this even before Amazon Prime Day or Black Friday deals. Remember, gaming monitors are like the #1 thing that goes on sale on Amazon Prime Day in October, as well as the Black Friday holiday shopping period. It's monitor deals all the time. So you probably will be able to pick up something even better than what I'm showing you right here. I would just urge you to consider this. So let's jump into it. I finished out $1,186.01. Let's jump into what else. The GPU. Now, it's interesting. We're going to go with the 5060 Ti, the GPU you picked. I did want to point out that at the time of filming, at Walmart only in the US, you can pick up the PNY, a single model, for $379. It's been there for a couple of days. I just want to highlight this. I'm actually not going to use this price in the build because I think this deal might just evaporate. So I want to use something a little bit more realistic, but I wanted to let you know it's there. In addition, they've also got at Walmart a couple other crazy deals. And these are sold and shipped by Walmart, by the way, not some crazy third-party seller. $499 for a RTX 5070 12 gigabyte. So just keep that in mind out there. Now, the one I went with is the Gigabyte RTX 5060 Ti WindForce, the non-OC version, 16 gigabyte for $429. That is what most of the rest of them are selling for, is the low price is $429. We've seen that for a couple months running. It'd be nice if they all came down to $379. I think if they did, it'd be hard to recommend the AMD alternative, which right now is the RX 9060 XT 16 gigabyte for $349. To me, this makes sense to go with. I get that you don't want to do it. I just want to highlight it out there for everybody else. This is what I would pick up right now, because if we look at what is the FPS difference between these two GPUs, this is TechSpot's RX 9060 XT 16 gigabyte review. I will say the 5060 Ti seems like it's picked up a little bit more performance since release day, but look at that. They're basically tied. 70-ish average FPS at 1440p, 58 to 57 on the 1% lows. So relatively similar performance. The only real advantage you get with going NVIDIA is the additional game support that DLSS 4 has. DLSS 4, not really any better than FSR 4, but has wider game adoption for older games. I will say that as we go forward, most of the games coming out are also supporting FSR 4, maybe not on release, but eventually. Let's jump to the rest of the build. Let's talk about getting a gaming monitor for the same budget that you were going to spend on just the PC. I'm going to add in a phenomenal, in fact, the best budget 1440p gaming monitor in 2025. You can check out our best 1440p gaming monitor buying guide video for more options if you want, if you do decide to spend a little bit more. But if this is what you have, about $150 to $200, this is my top pick. That's the ASRock Phantom Gaming PG27QFT1B, flat IPS, 27-inch, 1440p, 180 hertz refresh rate. It's got great motion handling. It's not the best gaming monitor out there, but certainly for $157, it's the best you're going to find. For the rest of the build, I stuck it out with a Ryzen 9600X. You certainly could consider a lower CPU like the 7600X or 7500F, still on AM5, still going to give you that future upgradability. The performance difference is not that much. $193, and I do expect for Amazon Prime Day, for instance, this to go back on sale. It was $156 or $152 on Amazon Prime Day in July. Fingers crossed, we're going to see it go on sale. So I would wait and see what you can pick up in just, a couple of weeks here, or even a Black Friday if you want to wait that long. Right now, if you don't want to wait, you could go with the 7500F. You can pick it up over at Newegg right now. It's sold by a third-party seller that I trust, Senitech, and it's shipped by Newegg, $158. There is a performance difference. I'm not sure we'd see it at this GPU level, though. I stuck it out with your cooler Thermalright Assassin X120. I mean, listen, $18 is great for this level of performance. That's really all we need for either of those CPUs. And then I switched your motherboard up to the ASRock B850M Pro-A Wi-Fi. It's basically the B850 motherboard version of the one that you were looking at, the old Pro RS. There is another Pro RS now, but it's another $10 and it's the same motherboard. It is the same motherboard. To go with this one instead. The one upgrade here, or I should say two upgrades, one PCIe Gen 5 GPU slot. The second one is that third M.2 goes from being half bandwidth to being full bandwidth, and it still keeps the same amount of rear panel USB. So 2 thumbs up for $139. Oh, by the way, it also adds Wi-Fi over the board you were looking at. Now, here's how we were affording some of those upgrades. Number one, I cut us down to 1 terabyte of NVMe SSD storage. Our motherboard has 3 slots on it. This is not a big deal. This is where we're going to go with 1 terabyte right now. Hopefully we can get through 1 terabyte's quite a bit more storage, I think, than some people anticipate. And then eventually you're going to spend another $100 next year, the year after, and you're going to dump into 2 or however many terabyte drive. The other thing I did, I went from that really expensive A-tier rated PSU to something more budget appropriate, which is the Apevia Prestige 600 watt unit. By the way, we don't need 750 watts for this build. Based on my calculations, which is 1.5 times the draw in PC part picker estimated draw, I'm guessing it's more like 530 watts. So even this is overkill right here. $52, C-tier rated. Now, this does not come with the 12-volt high-power connector for the GPU, so you're going to use the included adapter that comes with the GPU, and you're going to plug in the PCIe cables instead. But for $52, it gives us a lot of flexibility in our build. Also stuck it out with your RAM and the PC case as well. But again, $1,186.01. Not only are we getting a phenomenally performative 1440p gaming PC with the future upgradability that you were looking at, including some additional future upgradability on the motherboard with that full bandwidth M.2, the third slot out there. We're also going to get you a fundamentally better experience with a 1440p gaming monitor that actually really kicks butt for $157 out there. So overall, we massively upgraded the experience for your friend going from 1080p to 1440p. So I hope you feel like your build is boosted. All right, we've got the Glodfather. I absolutely love the name. They're doing an $1,800 US dollar build in the US, and the budget is just for the PC. They say that they're building their first high-end PC for competitive FPS, Battlefield, probably waiting for Battlefield 6 to come out, Call of Duty Warzone, and immersive RPGs, Cyberpunk 2077, Witcher 3, Baldur's Gate 3, Division 2, I hear is CPU intensive. Kind of alarm bells going off in my head. With maximum settings, the PC is going to be used for moderate video editing, intensive Adobe Illustrator and Photoshop work. Okay. I want to future-proof the build. Oh my gosh, we got all the buzzwords coming in, allowing for easy upgrades later without a complete rebuild. Current setup uses 2 1080p monitors. They're going to upgrade to 1440p or 4K. They also have an existing 1 terabyte hard drive they want to incorporate for general. You realize that 1 terabyte of NVMe SSD space costs $50, right? You could just replace that for $50, and we have an $1,800 budget, so we should be able to do that. But I'm seeing a lot of already confusing things. I'm kind of afraid of what I'm going to see. So let's see what we got. Oh my goodness, what is going on with this build? I just don't get it. I don't get it. If you hit pause on the video real quick, you tell me, leave a comment down below. What is wrong with this build? Because I don't understand what happened here. Not only that, we are actually $100 over our budget. Somehow, $100 over budget, you finish out at $1,912 instead of $1,800, and I just don't get what's going on here, because if we jump into this, we finished out with an RX 9070 16 gigabyte for $649. First of all, this is not the XT, by the way. It's not the XT. It's the 9070 non-XT. I don't understand. It blows my mind that we only got this GPU level. It looks like it's out of stock too, by the way. I don't know why we need the Sapphire Nitro one. Why didn't we just for $20 more get a 9070 XT? That'll give us more performance and even the highest overclocked regular 9070 non-XT. I just don't get it. I get 7800 X3D. I kind of expected to be in an $1,800 build. That sounds right. Maybe we couldn't quite afford it and we go with like a 7700X and then we have a higher end GPU. $358, not bad. For those shoppers out there, I do expect this to go on sale, but I also am worried about it selling out. Recently, the 9800 X3D went on sale for like $429. very quickly sold out. So if you want one of these X3D CPUs, I would just be prepared to grab them because it does seem like stock might be a little bit more limited. But it took me a second to figure this out, but I figured it out finally. We went with kind of this high-end geometric future case. Now, this is a brand that I admit I'm not that familiar with in terms of their cases. I've seen their stuff before, but I've never really kind of checked into it in terms of any reviews or anything. They look super cool, but for $150, which is not outside the realm of possible in this budget, it's less than 10% of the over. I think we could look at doing something like this if we didn't already have to fit in like extra storage for your professional workloads and things like that. I think we have to make a decision here. $1,800, it seems like, is not enough money to do all the things that we want to do, including this kind of high-end aesthetic. So I think we have to like kind of come back to the formula and figure out what's going to work for us, because $149 is a lot of money. In addition to that, you went with this liquid CPU cooler that is a 420 millimeter all-in-one liquid cooler. Yeah, for $109. The 360, by the way, you could have gone with the 360 for $79, and maybe that's what we'll end up doing here, because this CPU does not need a 420 millimeter all-in-one liquid cooler. This is not an i9-14900K, okay? It's a 7800 X3D. It's easily coolable. You could do it with a $35 air cooler, probably be just fine with this. Again, I've never seen the performance or ratings on these, but if this is the way you want to go, I'd probably come down for the insane 420. I like the Mag B850 Tomahawk. However, this is an area I probably would reduce maybe a little bit, because $209. MSI, this is a little too much for this motherboard, by the way. I really think this board's a $199. I know it's a $10 difference, and you're like, Jason, $10, come on. I just think that we could find a better value gaming and somewhat production-focused motherboard out there for like $179. We have a lot of different options, by the way, in our Best Ryzen Motherboard 2025, the fall guide that just came out. Check that out on the channel. I'll link it down in the video description. I like the RAM DDR5 6000 CL30. This Patriot Viper Venom kit, the RGB kit, relatively cheap for $95. 2 thumbs up. I love the drives you've got. So these SK Hynix Platinum P41, these are good production-focused drives. They got DRAM cache on them. They're phenomenal performers out there. Right now, for $120 for 2 terabytes, that is a pretty good price, and this is probably the one that I would pick up. But remember, Prime Day, a lot of sales on storage, so check in, especially on the 990 Pro. That often goes on sale, slightly better, I believe, performing than this, but honestly, you couldn't go wrong with this one. I like the power supply, 850 watt PSU, $89, one of the best value A2 rated units out there. I don't think we need 850 watts for this. Let's just check here. 530, more like 750. So 850 is not bad, because again, the PSU market kind of upside down right now, although around Black Friday and October Prime Day, hopefully we'll see some better PSU deals out there, but it has been upside down. So this 850 watt unit has been one of the better values. You also went with a Microsoft Windows 11 license, retail license. We're not going to say much more about that. There are other alternatives if you want, but they are kind of expensive, unfortunately. $128.99 if you buy it direct from retail, but we are going to fit that into the build. So all told, $1,912.14. Not only are we $100 over budget, I just feel like we're missing the mark on the GPU CPU combo. I just don't understand the level of performance we're looking for here, and I think we could just do way, way better. I call this the $1,800 production and max FPS gaming PC build in 2025, and with Amazon Prime Day, Black Friday deals, you may even be able to get it quite a bit below that. Let's jump through here. By the way, you were $100 over your budget, and I do think for the price here, we're also going to give you a really, really phenomenal aesthetic. It's not the exact case that you wanted, which was really, really hurting us. We are also, by the way, including your Windows 11 retail license in here as you requested. So $1,800, let's start off out the GPU. We're going to up the volume on your GPU. We're going to go with the RX 9070 XT 16 gigabyte. $20 more than you were going to spend on the non-XT version. We're going to pick up the ASRock Steel Legend. This is the dark one. The regular Steel Legend is a white themed one. I like this GPU quite a bit because you can offload the ARGB from the GPU to your motherboard using a cable here on the back of it. Really, really like that feature. By the way, GPU makers, y'all need to start doing that. I really like that. Then you don't have to download ASRock's ARGB software to control the ARGB on it. There are, however, a number of other models right around $669. If you want an NVIDIA option, because I do think if you're thinking about this GPU, will it go on sale around Amazon Prime Day? I think the answer should be yes. I don't know if it's actually going to be yes, but it should be, because the RTX 5070 Ti is at MSRP $749 right now. And at only about an $80 price difference, it does become very tantalizing to reach up to the 5070 Ti, which again, 9070 XT, slightly faster in terms of raw performance. We'll look at it in just a second. But this has wider game adoption for DLSS4, and we're talking about an $1,800 build, not a $1,000 build. So, you know, an extra $80, that's kind of on the edge right there, would push us over our budget, so I went with the 9070 XT. If you're wondering how much FPS you get for an $1,800 build, here's the TechSpot RX 9070 review. Now, I will say some of the numbers seem to have changed since review day. The 9070 XT seems to have gotten a little bit faster, either through game optimizations, driver updates. I'm not really sure, but it is slightly faster now than the 5070 Ti, at least in the games that they test. The 9070, not bad, 110 average FPS, basically same performance as the 7900 XT, or kind of thereabouts. The 9070 XT, especially with the additional performance, comes up to about RTX 4080 levels. The RTX 5070 Ti, about similar levels of performance. That is very, very good. And that's a performance level I think we really want to shoot at 4K to get even a little faster. Let's punch through the rest of the build. I stuck it out with the 7800 X3D. This is a great CPU for this budget range. This is kind of the minimum I would look for, 9070 XT or a 5070 Ti. Anything lesser than that, I'd probably reduce the CPU to keep that GPU power out there. Because remember, this CPU is actually not as performative in those multi-threaded workloads as a 7700X, because the 3D cache is on the top. So it's a little bit more difficult to cool this CPU. If you can find the 9800 X3D on sale for around the same price, I don't think it's going to happen, by the way, but if you could, I would buy that over it because it's a little easier to cool. You're going to get more multi-threaded performance, probably not more gaming performance though. For the cooler, I went with the id Cooling FX360 Infinity. We've used this cooler. We love it a lot. $71 is an insane value. And the reason we're going 360 is just, yes, we are going to switch the case. We'll talk about that in a second. If you want to go with the Eskimo Pro one that you were looking at, instead of the 420, you could go with the 360 here. Unfortunately, the $8 would push me over the budget. So I decided to switch the cooler. If you're like, Jason, I'll find the extra $8. I really want this particular aesthetic. Also, can't really find many independent third-party reviews on this unit just yet, so I was a little hesitant. I'd rather go with something that's well-reviewed. But again, 360mm all-in-one liquid cooler, how bad could it be? Now for the motherboard, I brought us down to a great motherboard that in our best Ryzen Motherboard 2025 video, I called one of the best premium value-oriented motherboards out there, because the Asus TUF B650E-Plus, people, oh, B650E, I want B850. Folks, B650E is actually technically better than B850. I know that blows people's minds because this guarantees a PCIe Gen 5 GPU slot, where there are a handful of B850s that don't have it. We won't talk any more about that. Just if you're buying B850, just verify that you in fact has that PCIe Gen 5 GPU slot. If that's important to you, this is pretty good real panel USB connectivity, 3 full bandwidth M.2s on it, upgraded ALC 1220 audio, which is an upgrade over the previous version, the B650, and it's $180, so this is a great pickup. Now for the PC case, we needed to save some money here. So I went with the Lian V100 ATX size. This is a mid-tower case. It's got 4 included ARGB fans. It's got that atrium style aesthetic I think you're looking for. The 360 is going to fit right up top. This thing is going to look absolutely amazing. And honestly, Lian, you are really, really killing it out here with that $82. This is a case I would normally expect Lian to charge more like $100 for. The fact that it's been $79 to $80 is 2 thumbs up. Now we stuck it out with your RAM. We stuck it out with a really good production-oriented NVMe SSD. That's one area we're going to look to add in the future as additional storage, obviously, to something like this. And of course, we stuck it out with your PSU because it's a great pickup, as well as the Microsoft Windows license. All told, we finished out $1,796.73. We've massively upgraded the performance here to the 9070 XT. We've given you a really cool looking aesthetic to it, and we value saved in a lot of areas without losing additional performance. So I hope you feel like your build is boosted. Everything is linked down in the video description, including both of those builds. We'll also list some Amazon Prime Day deals once Prime Day hits, so check that out. If you got value out of this video, please give it a like. It makes a huge difference to the channel. And of course, subscribe for more cool PC content like, did you check out our best Ryzen motherboard guide right here? The best Ryzen motherboards to buy in fall 2025. There's been a lot of changes, new B850 motherboards, new X870E motherboards. Check it out, and we'll catch you on the next one.